Welcome to Help! I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family.
So I had that prenatal lactation consultant, and the first thing, I did was check his TAs when he was born, which he was tied. So, the steps looked a little bit differently in that situation, but I didn't even want to wait like 2 days to get out of the hospital to see my lactation consultant. But I'm like, okay, you gotta wait a couple days. So I definitely understand that.
And then did it go better?
Oh, it went so much better. Oh. Yes. He was released when he was like 10 days old. And so our lactation consultant that we had used and worked with, we did weighted feeds. So before the procedure, he was transferring maybe like an ounce. And right after the procedure, it was like 3.5. His tongue was moving. He was eating. So it is nice, to have both experiences, especially as a provider of tongue and lip TAs. Like, I can be very honest with that mom whose child is 2 years old coming for the release about like, this is how it's gonna be. Versus, the newborn, the infant phase, so I've been through both of them, and I can relate to both sets of ways.
You've got lots of compassion for both experiences. Yeah. And it's really traumatic to go through what you went through, and to know, I think that's what we hope the message on this podcast can be. You don't have to go through that horrible traumatic time. You can get help.
Yes.
And, some of it is, moms typically talk to friends, or they talk to other moms. Yeah. Now, one thing that I caution moms is don't have other moms diagnose your baby. Yeah. Like, please see a professional. See a professional. Because I have seen that before too, where moms are trading pictures and go, oh, that's definitely a tongue tie, or that's definitely this.
We can't diagnose based off of pictures anyway. Right. So, and sometimes parents want that. They're like, well, what classification is it? How do you grade it? And I'm like, well, we grade based off of location of the tie, but really, how is the baby doing? Like,
what's the function? That's what I always say. What's the function?
Because you can have something that looks awful. It could look terrible. You're like, how are you functioning like that? And baby's doing fine, or they're compensating well, or you can have something that doesn't look very bad and it's very hidden, those posterior tongue ties, but now they're calling them mid-body ties, which makes more sense to me. Yes. But, really being under the tongue that doesn't allow the tongue to elevate. So they look all different ways. Yeah. So it's hard to.
And that tongue has to get out. It has to elongate so long outside of the mouth around the nipple to effectively feed, which is shocking. I think a lot of moms don't realize that. And there isn't a lot of information about that, and sometimes you wish you could see there was some sort of scanning video of your baby feeding and you could see it. Like, wouldn't that be cool if you could do that?
Yeah. But also on that, idea, another thing that a provider should be doing, if you take your baby to a provider to check for lip and tongue ties, they need to be in your baby's mouth.
Yes,
they've got to feel that suck. Like, how is the tongue functioning? Is it curling around the nipple, or is it not?
They should have a glove on their hand, and they should be all in their mouth.
Yes, and you should know. You can't just like peek in there. I mean, it's there's lots of diagnostic tools that you can do from that. So and that's sometimes lacking. I know that, parents have taken to a provider. They just like, did they even look under the tongue? And they're like, well, they can stick it out. So it's not fine. It's okay. Well, that's how we were trained 10 years ago. Does it go past the teeth? Okay. But really, you've got to make sure the tongue is moving like a wave. That middle of the tongue's got to touch the roof of the mouth, or you're not going to be able to nurse or feed or speak or,
Yeah. And the resting posture of the mouth, a lot of people don't realize that usually the tongue is up.
Yeah.
And
Suction
it's something we don't think
mouth.
about, as we're talking, as we have a resting mouth posture for sure. So there's like a lot of things. Moms go to a pediatrician and they might hear, they'll grow out of it. What would you want to say to a pediatrician that says that? Like if you could talk to a pediatrician who says, they'll grow out of it, and this mom is having a really difficult time nursing and asking questions, what would you want to say to a provider?
The best thing that I've heard in this situation is, if your shoes were tied together, could you ever walk normally? And you're never going to be able to walk properly until your shoelaces are untied. And so, that's kind of stuck with me because it's a very, very simple illustration that we can all understand. No, we don't grow out of it. Symptoms may start to be masked, and there's, Band-Aids on it because, baby learns to compensate, or you just move on, but it's not something that you can grow out of. It's either there, it's not there.
Well, one of the things I've really appreciated with your approach is, you talk my language when you say, we really want to know, can that baby learn to compensate, or are there things that can be done before a procedure, a more invasive procedure is done? So tell me your view of that, like explain that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to have that teammate aspect where you're working with that other person to do a functional assessment on the tongue. Because,
and when you say person, you're talking about like a feeding specialist, either a speech language pathologist or an occupational therapist, either or are trained.
Yes. Yeah. To be able to really look and see how is that tongue moving, what is happening, because I'm the surgeon. My specialty is releasing to cut, right? So that's the function of the tongue isn't my specialty. So just like if your surgeon feels like your gallbladder needs to be removed, you do a CT scan and you get that diagnostic criteria that yes, this is a problem. So, my hope is that but really your feeding difficulties, there could be a lot of things. It might not be a tie.
Right.
It could be the way you're latching or positioning or tension in the body or just weak musculature. So we need
to also be the shape of a nipple.
Right.
That there are some nipples that are really hard for a baby that has a really small mouth or a high narrow arch or something.
So we just really want to navigate that world, because the worst thing to do is to perform a surgery on a baby that's not necessary. So, as these providers, these speech therapists, occupational therapists are doing their functional assessment, they're weeding all of those things out, making sure, yes, the body feels great. There's no tension. We're feeding properly. So yes, the last resort is the surgical procedure, because it's a win in my book if I send a baby out for therapy and then they don't come back for surgery, because that means they have done their non-surgical therapy has helped whatever the problem was. And that's great.
And so do you recommend, like if a mom listening right now says, I need to get help, do you recommend they seek out a therapist first, or do they have an initial visit with you and then you send them where they need to go, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we can do either way. So we do have some moms that would just really love to come in for a consult with me.
Yeah.
And that's great. And I truly welcome that. And I will talk with that mom through the journey, but I'm never going to do the procedure that day. So my coordinator is amazing. She spends the majority of her day on the phone talking to all the moms and explaining how the procedure goes. So if we can refer out first, we always do based on, child's location, insurance provider. What do they need? Do they need a speech therapist or do they need an occupational therapist? Like, which route are we going to go? So it just saves the parents a trip. And it saves time too.
Right.
If they're not waiting a week or a couple days to see me.
Get it done quickly.
Get it done quicker by like removing that initial consult out of the equation.
And insurance can be a barrier too, because, some families are more limited in their resources and my goodness, they just had a baby. That's a huge expense.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of time for all of us. It's a big expense. So wanting your insurance to cover is a big one.
Yeah.
Being able to have coverage.
Yeah. And in our office, we do take all forms of insurance. It's not something that I ever will go away from just because I feel that all babies need to eat. Like it's not about the money that I'm charging but I want to help them if we can. It shouldn't be about cost. So,
I think we have the same heart.
Yes.
In that I just absolutely cannot stand when children can't get what they need. Yeah. And so you want to help them regardless of.
No, regardless. I know people tell me all the time, they're like, you should really raise your fees. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not really about that because, we want, care for all kids.
That's
all
right.
Kids, all babies. I want all the babies to be able to eat.
Yep.
And
all
speak
babies.
and feed, all the things.
That is good. And what is the difference? We talked a little bit about making sure, the evaluation is done properly from a therapist, that they're actually in their mouth. But what about other providers like Moms Here? Oh, I need to go to a chiropractor. I need, to make sure I have maybe craniosacral, or I need to have body work done. Or do you feel like going to the therapist is a good start because then they can help guide some of those other things? Or what is your approach when it comes to some of the other?
Yeah, I definitely, that's definitely my starting place, but we do have parents who start in the chiropractor, and the chiropractor or the, craniosacral massage therapist will say, hey, I think you've got some ties going on. But, in our office, we always require the therapy component to be the major key player. And I think some groups can handle all of it in-house, like all of the body work, because some OTs do a lot of body work with themselves. So, a baby that's really, really tense, if a speech therapist doesn't have the body work knowledge or not an OT to help, then I think that, maybe that's a great place or a start, that they should do body work outside. But it definitely makes the procedure more successful to have all components covered.
Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.